The following edition of Connecticut Valley Views is made possible by Windsor Federal Savings, with offices in Windsor, Bloomfield, Granby, and East Windsor. Neighbors helping neighbors since 1936. Join me, Susan Regan, host of Connecticut Valley Views, the most widely watched interview program on Connecticut Public Access TV. Proof to the people is the byline, insight without bias, generating a 360 perspective. Our mission is to focus on topical subjects with thought-provoking interviews regarding municipal leadership, current affairs, educational and political topics, as well as key destination points in New England.
And here is your host, Susan Regan.
Hello, and thank you for joining me today. We are at Ethel Walker School in Simsbury, Connecticut, and we're going to be updated on a very special Hot Topics workshop. It's conducted under the auspices of a program called Sphere. My first guest is Dr. Sheri Schmidt. I wanted to thank you, Sheri, for being here with us, and I wanted to thank Ethel Walker School for giving us the venue in which we can do our discussion.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to have you here.
And you currently serve as the Director of Equity and Social Justice at Ethel Walker School. But just tell me a little bit of background about where you had attended school before.
Okay. I've been doing social justice education work for about 22 years now. I did my graduate work in social justice at the University of Massachusetts in Amherst, and then have had the opportunity to work at Texas A&M. I've been in the schools of education at UMass and at Springfield College, and also in the School of Social Work at Smith College.
Now, you told me, you shared with me a special reason that when you came to Ethel Walker School, and I guess you were interviewing for your position, is that right? And you were talking about the reason why you would like to be here. Tell us that story.
Well, actually, it was kind of a different path to getting to the school. I actually have been teaching at the school for 5 years, but I've been living on the campus for 6 years. I moved to campus 6 years ago when my partner, Stephen Dunn, became an administrator at the school. And I was teaching at Springfield College at the time, and we were living on the campus, and I wanted to be a part of the campus community, so I did some consulting work for the school, specifically did some faculty development training around racism, and did a few other things during that year. And then at the end of the year, our head of school, Bessie Spears, posed a question, and she said, "Do you think you could teach high school students the same kinds of things that you teach college students?" And I said, "Good question. I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's find out."
Right.
So then I came on the staff the next year and specifically to develop a social justice education program for walkers.
And so now, when you did that, though, you're actually transitioning from an older group of students, and so you were actually bringing the same material that you were teaching in college, and you brought it to the students who were obviously in the lower grades or preparing for college, and they seem to assimilate and almost be hungering for this type of information and the opportunity to discuss the subjects that you were presenting. And they understood the material, is that right?
So the answer to the question is yes, you can have the same conversations and teach the same topics to high school students as college students. All of the material that I do, even with ninth graders, I have a ninth grade class. All of our ninth graders who go through this class, the material, the conceptual frameworks that I use in that class are the exact same ones I used at the college level. We outline for the students systems of inequality. So they learn about the concepts of identity, stereotypes, prejudice, discrimination, and oppression. And our main goal for that really is for them to be able to have open, honest conversations about hard topics like racism, classism, sexism, and they can do it. And they really enjoy doing it.
Well, I think it's in a forum in which they feel that there is structure to it. It's not just hearsay. There is actually information, credibility, background, and experience that's gone into it. So with you leading it, I think that gives them a framework in which to work and to have a constructive outcome to it.
Yeah, I agree. It's all based on oppression theory. It's all scholarship that I'm bringing into the classroom.
All right. Well, as I understand it, Ethel Walker is very close to home for us, but it's an independent college preparatory boarding school for grades 6 through 12. Just very briefly, what does the school offer? It's got a lot of things, a lot of elements to it. I know a lot of sports and so forth, but what do you see as kind of some of the highlights of Ethel Walker?
Oh my goodness, how long is the show? There's so much that we do. One of the things I love about the school is, as a boarding school, we have students from all over the world here. We have students from Afghanistan and Somaliland and China and Korea, Germany. So the ability to be with people from all over the world is a highlight, I think, of what we offer. We certainly have a full range of sports, as well as an intensive riding program. We have some of the top riders in the country go to our school. We push our students past the limits of kind of what they might think women can do through really investigating and talking a lot about who are we as women in the world, investigating media images of women and who the world says we should be and what we think we should be. Gosh, so the list could go on.
well, I think this is an important segue, though, something that you just said. Now, what I need to do is to also add that we are going to be interviewing two students, actually one from Ethel Walker School and one from Avon Old Farms School. And I want to thank Avon Old Farms School for assisting us and putting coordination together and having a student to represent them. And they are really a counterpart to you, all-boys school. They have students from all around the world. I know we're going to hear a little bit about that when I speak to them, when I speak to Obam. And I think that you're talking about how women deal in the world, some of the subjects and hot topics they need to talk about. In this particular one, though, we're going to be talking about a hot topic about masculinity. So I think this is good. This is opening another door, although what you're teaching here is how women navigate. We're talking about where are men and what is the status of their situation. Now, this is all under the auspices of something called Sphere. Is that correct? And how long has this organization, Sphere, been around?
Sphere was founded in the 70s, and it was an opportunity for a number of local independent schools to come together to pool their resources and information to create more inclusive campus environments. At the time, it was really focusing on creating racial inclusion, and that's still a big part of the mission, as well as creating campuses that are really open and welcoming in terms of class diversity, sexual orientation, religious differences, gender, et cetera.
All right. Now, when did Hot Topics, when did this workshop, Hot Topics, start, and how did it come about?
So Hot Topics has been around for about 3 years. For years, we've done a number of programs for students, just like we do a number of programs for staff. So we have staff development programs as well. And on one of our student programs, actually, there was a group of students at Ethel Walker School who really liked talking about these issues. We've been talking about these issues on campus. And as an all-girls school, sometimes we're very limited in who we can talk to about these. And so we were planning a program for Sphere, and my students really wanted it to be about a topic. And I think the topic at the time might have been interracial dating. So anyway, as a group, the diversity directors, so my counterparts at each one of the 11 Sphere schools got together and we created Hot Topics. And the way it works is a different school each time hosts the event, and the students of that school select the topic, come up with the agenda, and facilitate the actual program.
Okay, so the students really are very integral to the whole thing occurring, what happens during and to it. What's going to be interesting is actually to get the reactions of how they felt this last workshop went. Just very quickly, I'm going to read the mission of Sphere because I think it encompasses what is important here. It is to help member schools, member schools that collaborate in becoming and remaining culturally diverse, inclusive, and responsive environments for teaching and learning. To this end, the member schools individually and collectively seek to achieve diversity in faculty, staff, and student bodies, to create within each school and among the member schools a climate of respect for differences in multicultural perspectives in curricular and extracurricular programs. What I do want to add, too, is the schools that are involved are 11 independent schools in the greater Hartford area. They are Loomis Chaffee, Kingswood Oxford, Miss Porter's, Avon Old Farms, Suffield Academy, Cobb School, Renbrook, Pomfret, Watkinson, Westminster, and Ethel Walker School, of course. So how many times a year do you have these workshops?
We shoot for 3 times a year, so one each season, actually. Every once in a while, Mother Nature doesn't allow one to happen, but usually we do 3 a year.
Now, this subject that we're talking about is called Tough Guys. Now, what would you identify as the leader of this group as to what is the issue here is the problem? I mean, is it how men see themselves or how they're seen, or what was the essence of the program?
Okay, so we're really looking at kind of the narrow box that society creates for men about what it means to be a man. And the title, the word tough guys, is actually from a film that we showed. We showed 20 minutes of a much longer documentary that is titled Tough Guys. It's made by a gentleman, an anti-violence educator, Jackson Katz, who really brings that term in there. And tough guys, the guys is spelled G-U-I-S-E.
Right.
And it really talks about this kind of mask that men have to put on to fit into this ideal of what it means to be a man, which of course is to be tough and, you know,
Sure.
and not cry and all of those things that come with that.
Which is very difficult to do. Well, Sheri, I do want to thank you very much for giving us your opening remarks, telling us about the school, your background. And I think it's going to provide a very good framework for me to be able to talk to the students. And now we are going to speak to two of the students who participated in the most recent workshop, Tough Guys. It's my pleasure to introduce Kiri Gare McMichael. Did I say it right?
Yes, you did.
I got it right? And you're a senior from West Hartford. You're a senior at Ethel Walker
Correct.
School from West Hartford. Tell me a little bit about yourself, Kiri.
Of course. Yes, so like you said, I'm a senior. This is my third year at Walker, so I actually came from Renbrook, which is another school that's involved with the Sphere program. I am an active member of the student government. I represent the day students here on campus, and I work to be a liaison between the students and the faculty. I'm also a member of our sister-owned society, which is our group of student tour guides on campus, and I chose to be a student tour guide because I wanted to help prospective families fall in love with walkers the way I immediately did right when I stepped on campus.
Now, when you do the student tour guide thing, you're getting to meet a number of people, and I know that Sheri told us that you have people from all over the world. That experience is one in itself,
Absolutely.
is it not?
It's incredible just to speak with them and hear about where they're from and the differences in education, where they're from to here, and just differences all around. A lot of the people that I have toured have come from co-ed schools, and just to talk to them about the differences and their interest in an all-girls education and why that's important to them has been an amazing experience.
Now, when you say you're a government leader, is that correct? Government leader?
Yes.
Okay. When you're talking about, now a lot of these things seem to have a little bit of an overlap in them, the things that you're involved in. Just give me a very small description of each of those things that you're in. What is the purpose of each of the groups that you're involved
Okay,
in?
so student government is basically just being the voice of our students and communicating and connecting between the students to the faculty. So we run Senate meetings, and there are elected leaders in every single class that we meet with, and we discuss issues or things that students want to change or things that are going positively. So basically the point of student government is to be a voice for the students. I would say a student tour guide, like I said, I just want to help people fall in love with the school like I did. One of the other groups that I'm involved with is our Justice League, which is one of our clubs on campus, and it's talking a lot about systems of oppression and social equality and what we can do to combat the social norm and those
Well,
issues.
now you're also involved in sports?
Yes,
you're
I
involved
am.
in sports, right?
My main sport is varsity squash. I actually just started playing it a few years ago. But
Very fast game.
It's a very fast game. You always have to be
Yeah.
on your toes. It's like nothing I've ever played before, having to use all four walls. It's a lot. Yes.
Yeah, but what it is really a trade-off with all the academic things that you're involved with at Ethel Walker School. You need
Absolutely.
that exercise, and you need something else too. Well, now I very much appreciate that. We're going to be asking you some questions about this Hot Topics workshop, but I'd like to introduce my second guest, and that is Oben, and that's Ageza. Is that
Oh, no, Injeza.
Njeza.
Yeah.
Njeza. I apologize for
It's all
that.
right.
Yes. Oh, but now you're a senior at Avon Old
Yeah.
Farms, and you participate in a number of sports.
Yes. I play on the varsity football team, the varsity basketball team, and the varsity B lacrosse team at Avon Old Farms.
Now I understand you had a brother that.
Yeah, my older brother, Ugo, he graduated last year. He now attends St. Lawrence University.
Now I'm going to just mention a couple of things. I'm not sure if these are particularly the attributes that drew you to, but Avon is a boarding and day school for boys grade 9 through 12. and it's best known for its rigorous academics, supportive faculty, exuberant school spirit, a friendly sense of community with strong athletic, music, and arts program. When you first read that paragraph in the description of the school, beside your brother attending it, or perhaps when your brother attended, were those things uppermost of interest?
Sports especially. I was a big sports guy coming in. I was really excited to get onto the sports field and whatnot. But yes, it did attract me. So, but as I came, when I came, the arts really did take me in. I was enrolled in the chorale program at school, and I remember the first day being there. All the guys were shy to sing.
Yeah.
Everyone was like, "Oh, I want to play sports, this and that." But then, as the year progressed, I ended up falling in love with it. I love singing now. Last year, I tried out for the Riddlers, which is our main singing group, and I traveled to Argentina with them. We went on tour, and I continue to sing today. Yeah, great experience.
So you have a very broad curriculum. Do you ever feel it's overwhelming, or do you feel you've been able to wrap your arms around it?
Sometimes you're sitting in study hall and you have all this work to do, and you don't know what you're going to do about it. But that's where the faculty comes into play. We have a great staff at Avon Old Farms. You can always talk to your teachers. I have a great relationship with my teachers. They're my coaches. They live in the dorms with me. And sometimes, I'll go to enrichment, which is time after dinner where we go to sit down and talk about homework if you need extra help. And sometimes I find myself just going and talking about life with them, not even doing homework.
So it's a very enriching life. You're from New Jersey, is that correct?
Yes.
Your family's from New Jersey. And so you're able to go home occasionally. I mean, you're from West Hartford, and Carrie's from West Hartford, so it's pretty close to home. But I'm sure they've got some students that are from many other countries that are good friends of yours. Do you have them over to your house during holidays and things?
My freshman year, my friend June, he needed a ride. He's from China, and he needed a ride back to Newark. And my dad came, we picked him up, and we brought him back home. So
it's a great sharing thing. It's a great thing. Now, the mission also, this is an important thing about Avon Old Farms. It strives to be the best college preparatory school for boys by cultivating young men of integrity who honor wisdom, justice, inclusion, service, and the pursuit of truth. And its core values are brotherhood, integrity, scholarship, and sportsmanship. It seems as though you're involved in all of those areas. I mean, between your sports, you've got the chorale, you've got the academics. It's a formula that really works and develops a very capable young man. But having said that, this workshop is about men apparently being confused about their role in the world. So that brings me to you students. You came up with this topic, right? I mean, was this amongst the 11 schools? Who came up with this topic? Who was the one who put their voice forward? Was it Sheri? Was it Dr. Schmidt? Or did you students come up with the subject?
Well, our Director of Multicultural Affairs, Mr. Roller, he brought the movie up in our SIMI group, which is students interested in multicultural issues. And we watched the film, and he told us that there's going to be a hot topic at Ethel Walker's, and he asked us if anyone else wanted to come. So I went back
Struck
to
a chord with you, didn't it, Open?
Because for the most part, one of the things that's always brought up is how women are portrayed in media and whatnot. And this is the first time I ever saw how men were portrayed, so I thought it would be very interesting to come over. So that's what brought me
So
into
that was
it.
your reason for... Now, I wanted to ask you, Carrie, the reason you participated is because a lot of the things you're involved in, I think, you need to understand what goes on in the social justice for women, but then you're saying, but men seem to be confused too, or there seems to be a confusion of a sort.
Well, actually, I took Sheri's class, Inequality in the United States, and we actually watched the Tough Guys film. And I absolutely loved the conversation we had afterwards as an all-girls class, and I was really interested to hear the perspectives of the guys, as of course it's personal to them. So that was what struck my interest.
And the thing is that being able to have both men and women involved in it, you're obviously going to get that interaction between the two and a lot of perspectives, which I think are very important to share with people, and to be able to share it one-on-one and face-to-face, not through a computer or answering questions on some sort of a format of some kind. All right, what do you think are some of the key highlights? And I'll ask you, Carrie, what do you think were some of the highlights of that workshop?
Well,
which is about 2 hours, is that right? Is that about how long they run? They run about
I think
2 hours?
Something like that.
So yeah, it was
So
about
it's-
2 hours.
Okay, whatever it takes to get the job done.
Exactly.
All right,
Well, in my small group with OBUM, what we started out talking about was that centuries ago, women and men were placed in these strict gender roles, telling them how to act and how to be and what to look like. And through these set stereotypes and the images that media portrays, a lot of times men can internalize these images and conform to what society believes is the ideal, perfect, tough, strong man. And so we talked a lot about that, and one of the highlights for me was that we realized that we all contribute to this by the media that we consume and how we act and behave. So we all have an impact, and an example of this actually is when we also broke off into groups with the guys went one area and the girls went to another, and we talked about our action plans of what we can do to combat these issues. And one of the things that came up was that sometimes women can romanticize the idea of what it means to be a strong man. And so one of the things we talked about was how sometimes women want a man who will be aggressive, who will fight for them, who will protect them.
But not turn on them, not use that
Exactly.
aggression to turn on them.
And one of the things that I actually brought up was I want to be that for myself. And so that was one of the things that we talked about, how we all add to it, and as a society, we all perpetuate this ongoing issue.
Do you feel that anything that you'd like to add to that, Alvin? I mean, when you see the media, do you think the media is contributing to the confusion, or do you think that it is portraying the right things, or do you think it's misconception? What's your position on that?
I mean, I think it kind of goes both ways. I mean, you can look at both ends of the spectrum, but one of the key things was it was fun to see. I mean, it was crazy to see how, you know, sometimes it's easy to say, oh, it won't affect me, this and that. But if you take a step back and you actually look at what you're doing, for us guys, watching that video actually showed that there's a lot of violence in media today, in the movies and the video games. And I myself see myself watching these movies and playing these games, but you really don't think about how it actually may affect you. So that was one of the big highlights for us guys
It's
to
a
see.
subconscious thing that happens. And I think sometimes when you're taught to be aggressive in sports, you're taught to take the lead, you're taught to be a man. Maybe someone is going to be in the military, they need to show leadership, they need to show strength. But there's a very fine line, I think, between the strength and the domineering aspect. And particularly when dealing with women, it's tough to change gears. Is it tough to change gears, Elvin? Is it tough to go from the guy on the field and then suddenly have to be a little retrospective about the venue you're in?
I mean, sometimes it's kind of hard, especially with your teammates around. You kind of want to show that you're still a tough guy. You know, you're like you want them to look at you how they look at you on the field.
Right.
Then off the field, you want to be this way, but you don't want them to see you as soft or whatnot. So sometimes it can be kind of hard. But for me, I mean, I see myself as a gentleman. So.
Well, I think the thing is that to be a man and to be a gentleman is one thing. To be a man amongst men is one thing. To be a gentleman is the word descriptive in itself, a gentleman. That doesn't mean that you aren't masculine. It simply means that you recognize that you need to be courteous and there are other niceties of participating in a civilized society that you need to do. Do you ever find that guys, or do they rib each other when it comes to, oh, how come you did that and how come you brought her flowers or whatever it is? Is there ribbing going on?
I mean, that obviously happens. I mean, it's kind of a joke sometimes, but I've seen how some guys it could change how a guy treats another woman. I mean, everyone wants to be cool, everyone wants to be fit in and whatnot, but yeah, that does happen a lot. But I mean, that was probably one of the keys of this workshop is to stop that from happening. So it's okay to buy a girl flowers, it's okay to hold the door open, to pull her chair out. I think that's what this...
What you really need is buy-in by everybody, so that there isn't one group that thinks it should be this way and one group that, and I think that's probably part of what the workshop's about. Now, the media sends out these messages, so I'm going to go back to that question again. Do you think the media is contributing to a destructive atmosphere? Do you think that it's causing problems for men in trying to set their identity in the right direction?
It definitely is. I mean, when you go on Facebook now, on Twitter now, there's all these pop-ups of, you see models and whatnot popping up, and every time you hit like or retweet that, it goes around, and that's what guys are seeing now, especially with younger kids coming onto Facebook. That's all they see now, and so they grow up with this is what women are like, this is how I'm supposed to treat them. So definitely is.
All right, now, did you come up with, Carrie, did you come up with some strategies for combating the issue or constructively contributing towards a better relationship?
Yes, absolutely. We came up with many different strategies. Two of the key ones that I want to touch on. The first one is don't be submissive to men, and that's beneficial for both men and women, and be vocal. And the second one is we control and support the media, basically. And so
That's a good point. You control. Okay, how do you do that? How does one do that?
So my take on this is support the media that portrays men in a variety of different ways, and then put down the media that doesn't, and speak out against it. Don't purchase magazines that have men or women put into these gender roles, these boxes that they have to conform to.
Have you ever sent an email to a magazine or a show on TV or something that said, I don't like this?
Actually, one of the things that we did here at Walker's last year, we have done many different things. One of them was that we actually wrote a letter to Victoria's Secret, and how we explained about how they objectify women, and how that also leads women to objectify themselves. And another thing we did was we did it's kind of like a makeup petition. We realized that the makeup industry makes billions of dollars, even a month. And so we all took images of ourselves without wearing makeup, and how we had one picture of us smiling.
Well, at your age, you're all gorgeous.
We had one image of ourselves smiling, and the next one doing an emotion to show that we are beautiful with all of the emotions that we have. And so those are just a few of the ways that we have tried to combat the media images.
Well, I think there's an old axiom, handsome is, handsome does. And I think the makeup of a person, I mean, it seems or would seem to apply to men, because we're talking about handsome, but I think you can take that attribute and I think you can translate to a woman is beautiful because of who she is, and that beauty usually comes through by personality. Would I be wrong in saying that, Opal?
Oh, no, not at all.
No, because women can have beauty, sexuality, all of those things, and they don't have to come from a lip gloss or nails or whatever. It comes from within, and that's what I think the schools that are involved in this know that, and that's why they put such a heavy emphasis on talking about these subjects, and obviously the development as a person, as an all-around person. Well, what do you hope to see come from this, Carrie? And what I mean is, do you see this, hopefully the program we're doing right now, this segment, will talk about, hopefully get other people, other groups, other schools to talk about these types of subjects and so forth. What else, where do you see this going? I mean, you're going to continue with hot topics, you're going to have other subjects you're going to take up. Do you see another way to take this further out?
Absolutely. I think it all starts with educating people and having these tough discussions and realizing that it's okay to have these discussions and to keep asking questions and challenge the social norm. So I hope that that comes from the workshop and then carries out into everyday aspects of our lives. From the workshop itself, I really want the boys to realize that it's okay to be who they truly are. And I want the girls to realize how we impact it and influence it. So I think that's more of a personal thing. And then over the broad spectrum, I want everyone to realize how not recognizing difference perpetuates this norm and leads people to deny who they truly are. So basically, in general, just talking about these issues and to realize our impact and what we can do.
Do you see, for instance, just a thought, do you see maybe publication of some of the things or the outcomes from some of these things? Do you think that that's a possibility? Some sort of publication or printed material that could be or sent out via email or, some other way to spread the word? Because if it just stays within the context of 11 schools, maybe there's another way to get it out there on the internet or publications of some kind. I mean, do you think that might be a possibility?
That would be a great possibility. I mean, at Avon, only a small group of us saw the video. Mr. Roll and I are working on showing that video to the entire school, and that would get the talk going. I mean, that's just, I think, the quickest way to spread it. People talk, go home and talk about it with your parents. They go talk about it with someone else, and then that's just the quickest way to spread about it.
Dinner table's a great way
Yeah.
to go. Well, Anything else you'd like to add? Because I don't want to ask you, is there anything you'd like to add before we close out? You're both wonderful people to talk to. I appreciate Avon Old Farms sharing and loaning you to come over to Ethel Walker's. I appreciate it, Kira, you participating in this. Very appreciative. Anything you'd like to add? Any closing note?
I think that one of the problems is that a lot of the time we blame society for the issues we're having, but we don't necessarily realize that we are society. And in order to change what's happening, we first have to change what we're doing.
That's a good thought. Very good thought, Kira. Well, thank you both again.
All right,
I
thank you.
appreciate it. Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you, Kira. All right. I'd like to give the websites too, both for Ethel Walker School and Avon Old Farms, and also for the Sphere Schools, who are the people who actually started, or actually the hosting group for the workshops. It's www.ethelwalker.org, and Avon Old Farms is www.avonoldfarms.com. And Sphere is www.sphereschools.org. I'd like to thank again Ethel Walker School for giving us this venue in which to host this segment of our program. I'd like to thank Avon Old Farms for participating and helping to coordinate the segment and the students' participation. I'd like to also say that you can see us on Facebook, and you can see all of our programs on our website at www.ctvalleyviews.com. This is Susan Regan. Thank you for joining me and bringing proof to the people. Our thanks to Windsor Federal Savings for making this program possible. Neighbors helping neighbors since 1936.